Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vaibhava Course Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vaibhava Course Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome back to the Bhakti-vaibhava Course. Today we will begin the 4th chapter of the 2nd Canto, entitled The Process of Creation. Now Parikshit Maharaj, after having heard from Shukadeva Goswami that the goal of life is to engage in pure devotional service, now Parikshit Maharaj is going to make further inquiries about the creation of this world. We will see why Parikshit Maharaj is asking these questions, and there are discussions on that. And also we see after Shaunaka Rishi enthusiastic comments about the glory of the devotional service, and also about condemning those people who are not having surrendered in the service of the Lord, who are wasting the human form of life. Shaunaka Rishi further wants to know from Suta Goswami, what did Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit, what was the conversation that went on, what were the questions that was raised, and how did Shukadeva Goswami explain it. So he is very enthusiastically want to know about further conversations between both of them. So the first 4 verses we have classified it with the title, Parikshit Maharaj focused his mind on Lord Krishna, giving up all other attachments. Now this is a consequence of after having heard from Shukadeva Goswami how the best activity to be done at the time of death, the time when he has got only 1 week to do, the best activity to be done is to completely absorb oneself in Shrotavyascha, Kirtitavyascha, Smartavyascha, Chatabhayam. So hear about Krishna, glorify Krishna, remember Krishna. In this way you will attain perfection, and you will be free from fear, anxiety, lamentation, and all those things. Now Parikshit Maharaj was already a pure devotee of the Lord. Further, after having heard this from Shukadeva Goswami, he became extremely fixed. He absorbed his mind in the name, Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela of the Lord. Now that is very evident from what Suta Goswami is speaking now. Let's go to the first verse. Suta uvacha vayyasake riti vachas tattva nishchayamatmanah upadharya matim krishne autareya sating vyadhat. Suta Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Uttara, after hearing the speeches of Shukadeva Goswami, which were all about the truth of the self, applied his concentration faithfully upon Lord Krishna. Upadharya matim Krishne. So this is the important point here. Matim Krishne. Tattva nishchayam atmanah. So this should be the result of any person after having heard about information about Atma Tattva. Then one should withdraw his mind from worldly hankerings, and one's mind should gradually be fixed on the transcendental path. This is required. And that's what has happened with Parikshit Maharaj, because that is the effect of any good speaker of transcendental message. The transcendental message will act like a medicine which is injected through the veins. Like we heard in the previous part, but Prabhupada is making the point, when a potent speaker delivers the transcendental message, that acts like a very powerful medicine. It acts on the sincere hearer. Okay. Parikshit Maharaj, born in a devotee family and got the blessings of Shukadeva, which resulted his chaste mind to concentrate fully on Krishna. This is a subject Prabhupada is very much focusing on this purport. The word satim is very significant. This means existing and chaste. And both imports are perfectly applicable in the case of Maharaj Parikshit. The whole Vedic adventure is to draw one's attention entirely unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna without any diversion. As instructed in the Bhagavad Gita. What is that? Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarve ahameva vedyo vedanta krit vedavit eva chaham. After studying the entire Vedas, who is to be known? Krishna is to be known. He is the compiler of the entire Vedas. He is the compiler of the he is the end of the Vedas. He is to be known. That's what Krishna says in the Gita. Now, there are also other verses which we can, from the Bhagavatam and other places, we can try to understand that how our mind has to be completely fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord. Or our thoughts should be on Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Do you remember quickly any verses which are very important verses which quickly gives that message that our mind should be absorbed in Krishna? Okay, one verse that comes to my mind: Smartavyam satatam Vishnu Vismartavyam na jatuchit Sarve vidhi nishedasya etayor eva kinkaraha. So this is a very key information from the Shastras. Any other verse which comes to me, because this is the key point. The entire Vedas are meant for what? All scriptural conclusions are meant for what? The whole scriptural conclusions are meant for us to remember the Lord and focus our mind on the Lord's lotus feet. Manmana bhava madbhakta, Krishna says in the Gita. Yes, surrender unto me, absorb your mind in me. Yes. He says there are so many verses. He says Machita madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam. So devotees have to discuss about the Lord's instructions, His pastimes. In that way we can remember. There are few verses which Srila Jiva Goswami is pointing out right from the Bhagavatam. Let's take a look at that. Shri Shuka uvacha samyag vyavasita buddhis tava rajarshi sattama vasudeva katayam te yajjata naishtiki ratihi. Shri Shukadeva Goswami said, "O your majesty, best of all saintly kings, because you are greatly attracted to topics of Vasudeva, it is certain that your intelligence is firmly fixed in spiritual understanding, which is the only true goal for humanity. Because that attraction is unceasing, it is certainly sublime." So, very clearly he says here, Samyak Vyavasita Buddhis, his intelligence is perfectly fixed. And who is authorizing this? Who is saying this? Shukadeva Goswami himself is saying this. Now, we can see in this verse, what we are reading now, Suta Goswami is pointing out how Parikshit speaks. Now, Shukadeva Goswami is speaking the same words further down. Time to time we can see Shukadeva Goswami was so inspired to speak this Bhagavatam. He very inspired to relate various Leelas. Because Parikshit Maharaj was fully enthusiastic. He was wrapped with attention. He was asking right questions. He was triggering Shukadeva Goswami's understandings. He was asking him to elaborate. Although he was fully a Mahabhagavata. Parikshit himself was a Mahabhagavata. Shukadeva Goswami is also a Mahabhagavata. It's equally when potent information is kindled by the devotee, the Shukadeva Goswami is inspired more. So that we can see very well from what the verse that we read now. Then there is also again in the second canto of the Bhagavatam another nice verse which glorifies that. Etad veditum ichchami tattvam tattva vidhamvara harer adbhuta viryasya katha loka sumangalaha. The king said, "I wish to know narrations concerning the Lord who possesses wonderful potencies are certainly auspicious for living beings in all planets." Yes. O greatly fortunate Shukadeva Goswami, please continue narrating Srimad Bhagavatam so that I can place my mind upon the Supreme Soul, Lord Krishna, and being completely freed from material qualities, thus relinquish this body. So again this verse he is asking Shukadeva Goswami, please go on narrating, go on explaining, so that Manastyakshe Kalevaram. Krishne Niveshya Nissangam. So by absorbing myself in Krishna, I would like to disconnect myself from the worldly happenings. Okay, so these are few verses which is right there in the Bhagavatam, which is showing the great characteristics of Parikshit Maharaj. Now in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is actually pointing out the speciality of Parikshit Maharaj, how he is born in a family of a devotee and how glorious it is to take birth in a devotee family. Now we will see the requirements to become a pure devotee of the Lord. Prabhupada is setting the standards. To become a pure devotee of Lord Krishna, two things are very much essential, namely having a chance to be born in the family of a devotee and having the blessings of a bona fide spiritual master. So two things. One has to be born in a devotee family or one has the blessings of a bona fide spiritual master. So, we will see in this chapter, even if you have been born in some low class family or you are an outcast, still by coming in touch with the association of a pure devotee, where here it is mentioned, getting that when you come in association of a pure devotee, you get the blessings of a pure devotee who is a bona fide spiritual master, then you can also become a pure devotee. So two things are there. Either you are already born in the family of devotees and you have been trained by the devotees, naturally you will be a devotee, or you are again rising to that standard of a pure devotion by the mercy of a pure devotee, submitting ourselves to a pure devotee. Either way. So that's what Srila Prabhupada did. Srila Prabhupada's mercy flowed. He just very freely, he distributed the mercy to all the conditioned souls. And whomsoever showed little sincerity, they were benefited. Like Lord Nityananda, what he did? He actually, a big ocean, big pool of river, he cut the channel so that the water could spread everywhere. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada, he just he cut the channel from the ocean of Prema so that that ocean of Prema could even travel to the areas of desert. Desert, I mean, sorry. Yeah. So like desert-like hearts were transformed into places where Lord Krishna can reside. That was Srila Prabhupada's speciality. Okay. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that a fortunate person, by the mercy of the spiritual master and Lord Krishna, achieves the path of devotional service. This was perfectly applicable in the case of Parikshit Maharaj. By the way of being born in a family of devotees, he automatically came in touch with Krishna, and after being so contacted, he constantly remembered him. Consequently, Lord Krishna gave the king a further chance for development in devotional service by introducing him to Shukadeva Goswami, a stalwart devotee of the Lord, with perfect knowledge in self-realization. And by hearing from a bona fide spiritual master, he was perfectly able to concentrate his chaste mind further upon Lord Krishna as a matter of course. So what is it that one other point that we can learn from this point, from this purport? Two things are said. One is you are to be born in the family of a devotee, or you should go and then one should get the mercy of the spiritual master. Correct? Am I correct or wrong?
Yes.
Yes. So, even though you may be born in a family of devotees, still the process as Krishna has given should be followed. What is the process? You go on and submit yourself to a pure devotee. That's what here Parikshit Maharaj did. Atmajaya sutagara pashudravina bandhushu rajye cha vikale nityam viruddham mamatam jahau. Maharaj Parikshit, as a result of his wholehearted attraction for Lord Krishna, was able to give up all deep-rooted affection for his personal body, his wife, his children, his palace, his animals like horses and elephants, his treasury house, his friends and relatives, and his undisputed kingdom. So what is the key here? How he was able to give up all the yeah, so what is that? I'm just looking for the Sanskrit. Nityam Virudham Mamatam Jahau. He was able to give up that. Nityam Virudham, deep rooted, constant. Bandhushu. Okay, so that's the understanding that as a result of his wholeheartedly, completely absorbed in Lord Krishna, he was able to give up all the deep rooted affection for his personal body. Okay, now Srila Prabhupada points out that Dehatma Buddhi discusses about Dehatma Buddhi, how this Dehatma Buddhi puts us in illusion, and the consequence of the illusory attachments. Okay, one selects a wife for bodily comfort, and the result is children. For wife and children, one requires a dwelling place, and as such, a residential house is also necessary. Animals like horses, elephants, cows, and dogs are all household animals, and a householder has to keep them as household paraphernalia. In the modern civilization, the horses and elephants have been replaced by cars and conveyances with considerable horsepower. To maintain all the household affairs, one has to increase the bank balance and be careful about the treasury house. And in order to display the opulence of material assets, one has to keep good relations with friends and relatives, as well as become very careful about maintaining the status quo. This is called the material civilization of material attachment. So this is the point. So Prabhupada has pointed out many times in his lectures and in his conversations. Here we can see even people become very much attached to their pets also. Some of them you can see they have some big functions and the pet dies, and then they write so many letters and they take videos and so many things, and we can see in many houses how they give previously dogs and all those things, even some there may be having pets, but they'll be outside the house, it will never be inside the house. So now they sit with them, they eat with them, they sleep with them, whatnot. So this is completely expansion of the illusory attachment. So now here the Prabhupada is pointing out that how Parikshit was able to give up this attachment. He says that by the grace of the Lord, he was able to give up all connections with material attachment. That is the position of a pure devotee. Maharaj Parikshit, due to his natural affection for Lord Krishna, as a devotee of the Lord, was always executing his royal duties on behalf of the Lord. And as a responsible king of the world, he was always careful to see that the influence of Kali would not enter his kingdom. A devotee of the Lord never thinks of his household paraphernalia as his own, but surrenders everything for the service of the Lord. So we can see, whether you are a ashramavasi, whether you are a brahmachari or whether you are a grahastha, either way, we have to give up our attachment to this material world. And in Krishna consciousness, that is a very, in a very easy way that is accomplished by engaging ourselves in Krishna's service. That's all we have to do. We don't have to do anything special. We don't have to specially endeavor to give up. We don't have to do the repulsive path. Repulsive path means, I don't want this, I don't want that. We don't do like that. We actually absorb so much ourselves in Krishna's service that naturally the mundane things becomes distasteful to us. This is the positive process of Krishna consciousness. Now we can see, in the life history of Sripad Ramanujacharya, there is an amazing incident which shows that anybody can be attached. The Ramanujacharya showed that his own disciples, some of his disciples were attached to their mutts. They were attached to the mutt and they were attached to their own kopin actually. There is a story how one of his family disciple who they were grahasthas, they were so renounced in spite of being family members. They had completely dedicated themselves in Ramanujacharya's service, Sripad Ramanujacharya's service. Now some of the other disciples couldn't understand that, so Ramanujacharya I'm not going to elaborate the entire story. He did a small test, and if he found out that when the kopins were exchanged, and he found that somehow the brahmachari became completely disturbed, agitated, got irritated, they had a big fight, and that showed how much we are attached. Srila Prabhupada said, if we are attached to even one gulab jamun, we may have to be born again in this material world, correct? So this is a warning for us. So we have to, at the end of the day, see how much are we attached. Are we attached to our bead bag? That means what? Are we attached to our japa? Are we attached to the service that we have taken up in trying to please our spiritual master and parampara? Or are we attached to illusory things of this material world and we are in the dream world trying to enjoy it? So this is a simple question we can ask us, and we know where we are standing. Once one devotee said, you want to know how much you have made advancement, how much you are making progress. Do you want to know that? It's so simple. So he said that he said that, two of them were sitting in one place. Suddenly some music started to play. Okay, some film music, I guess. Okay, so of the two devotees, one devotee already started tapping his leg. According to I said, so it's so simple. It's not so easy, difficult. We are all neophytes. We are trying to make progress. So we are trying to practice Krishna consciousness. We have not been completely purified. So that's why there are certain don'ts and there are certain do's, right? We have certain things we have to avoid, certain things we have to cultivate. So we don't, and it's a simple test. When somebody is in the level of a Goswami, in spite of sensual agitation, he's not agitated. Okay? So we should not artificially try to imitate that. Huh? Let me show I'm such a great devotee. I'll go among the beautiful women and then show that I'm a great preacher. Sorry, no need. First try to step by step avoid unnecessary things. We avoid. And then only when somebody is in a very elevated stage, Srila Prabhupada could do it. Srila Prabhupada, once he got down from the Paris airport, I think, he was coming out and then everybody was bowing down, and Srila Prabhupada said, you know why everybody is bowing down? I'm free from sex desire, Prabhupada said. Srila Prabhupada is a Mahajana, Mahabhagavata. But we should not artificially imitate, but we should know what are our limits and we should try to sincerely work, pray to the Lord, and we really need Lord's help to give up all the different kinds of attachment because of our various samskaras and various attachments that we have had in so many lifetimes. We are struggling in this material, but nevertheless we should have that hope, as we were reading yesterday, Asha Bandha. That hope should be there, that the Lord will definitely protect us. If we are sincerely going to serve Him and take shelter of His lotus feet, the Lord will not reject us. That hope should be there and we should keep going. Okay. And Parikshit had the mercy of the Lord. Okay. Prabhupada further says in this purport, attachment for household paraphernalia and for Lord Krishna go poorly together. One attachment is the path of darkness and the other attachment is the path of light. Where there is light, there is no darkness, and where there is darkness, there is no light. But an expert devotee can turn everything to the path of light by an attitude of service to the Lord. And the best example here is the Pandavas. So this is what we spoke about. The Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe. So by relating everything in Krishna's service, we will be able to give up the attachment to the material assets, whatever we may have, by giving it for Krishna. Prabhupada says, in other words, one who like Maharaj Parikshit has seriously heard Srimad Bhagavatam for even one day from a fit personality like Shukadeva Goswami may be able to lose all affinity for material things. One time, Giriraj Maharaj was a brahmachari at the time. His parents were so upset that he joined the Hare Krishna movement. Okay, so when he went to the house, his parents arranged for one psychiatrist. Okay, one lady came to meet Giriraj brahmachari. So she was, Giriraj Maharaj's parents are very rich people. They are like millionaires. So, they were ready to give him anything. But he was so much attached to Prabhupada and ISKCON. And so this, the psychiatrist lady went on conversation with Giriraj brahmachari. So the conversation was going on for quite some time. They were discussing. At one point of time, she just ran out of the room and she said that, forget it, I'm not going to have any more discussion with this boy. Because, he was so fixed up in the understanding of the Krishna consciousness movement and service to the Lord, and how we are not this body, we are spirit soul, we are eternally meant to serve Krishna. So he had such a clear understanding. If he had continued speaking for some more time, maybe the psychiatrist would have joined the Hare Krishna movement. So she went out. He said, this case is very difficult. We can't do anything with this with him. So like that. So that is the effect of the practice of Krishna consciousness. Naturally, one develops detachment, and because of developing transcendental knowledge, there is this detachment as a side effect. How does the verse goes? No, the sloka says that one by engaging in the service of Lord Vasudev, one develops knowledge and detachment, jnana and vairagya. Jnana chaya dahaitukam. How does it begin? Come on, students of Bhakti-vaibhava, already you should have learned this verse. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitah Janayatyasu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Haitukam. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. By engaging in the service of Lord Vasudeva, when one practices Bhakti Yoga, what is the result of it? As you develop love for the Lord, naturally there is detachment and knowledge. Okay. So Prabhupada here just gives a warning to those who are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam not to use it as a means for running your family, maintaining yourself with just doing some Bhagavata Katha and trying to maintain good bank balance and trying to use it. So Prabhupada here, very interestingly, there is not often we give this example, but it's a good, we can often give this example. Prabhupada says, Sarva Shubhakriya Samyam Api Pramadaha. He is quoting this. Interesting, no? So we usually say different examples. That's the thing, using the Lord's name or Katha for our personal thing, or using the Lord to solve our personal problems. Right? That should not be done. Okay. Text 3 to 4. O great sages, the great soul Maharaj Parikshit, constantly wrapped in thought of Lord Krishna, knowing well of his imminent death, renounced all sorts of fruitive activities, namely acts of religion, economic development and sense gratification, and thus fixed himself firmly in his natural love for Krishna and asked all these questions exactly as you are asking me. The Sutta Goswami is saying that like how you people asked, now I'm continuing to Shukadeva Goswami was questioned by Parikshit Maharaj in a very humble way to know further about creation. Now Srila Prabhupada here in this purport, he points out the verdict of great personalities, how the pure devotional service, the topmost service to be done. Now we will just go to that particular section here. So he said that either the karma kandiya activities are not really required to be done. And to substantiate it, he starts quoting from various scriptures and from various acharyas. Okay, let's see. Maharaj Parikshit is specially qualified with the word Mahamanaha, which puts him on an equal level with the Mahatmas described in the Bhagavad Gita. In the later age also, there have been many Mahatmas of this type, and they also gave up all karma kandiya conceptions of life, solely and wholly depending on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So this is the point, no? Parikshit Maharaj was not interested in performing any other activities. He was very much focused in taking association of Shukadeva Goswami, and he completely absorbed himself in Bhagavata Katha. Okay. Now, here are the references. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he set the mood. What should be the mood? Whatever may be the situation, my Prananath is Supreme Lord Himself. Whether He accepts me or rejects me. Then, here is a quote by Sri Rupa Goswami. It's a nice verse. He says, Virachaya maidhandam dina bhando dayam va gatir ihana bhavata kachid anyam amasti nipatatu shatakotir nirmalam va navam bas tadapi kira payodha stuyate chatakena. So he says that, O Lord of the poor, do what you like with me. Give me either mercy or punishment. But in this world, I have none to look to accept your lordship. The Chataka bird always prays for the cloud, regardless of whether it showers rain or throws a thunderbolt. So this is the same. This verse is very much in line with Asmisheva Padaratam Pinastumam, right? Same mood is expressed here. And then we can see Madhvendra Puri is very, very famous, such an elevated personality, how he can boldly is declaring, I am not interested in doing this Tarpana, I am not interested in this, I don't have time to do Sandhya Vandana, I'm just so much remembering and absorbed in Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, and that is sufficient for me, he says. And then further he also says that, let everyone criticize me, let everybody make a mockery out of me, let them think that I am mad, or even others may let them think that I am too proud. Whatever may be the situation, I am not going to budge an inch from a determination to serve the Lord's lotus feet. So this is the mood of the pure devotees. And then after having explained all those things, he also speaks about Prahlad Maharaj, how he also says that pure devotional service in itself is sufficient, rather than engaging in being busy with dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So again we see that from four authorities it has been established that pure devotional service in itself is completely sufficient. Srila Prabhupada also points out from Baladev Vidyabhushana in the purport, he says that Bhagavad Archana Rupaika Nishkama Karmabhir Vishuddha Chittaha. Accepting transcendental love is serving to the Lord as a prime duty, free from fruitive reaction. So that is required for a sadhaka is this. So Maharaj Parikshit was perfectly right when he firmly accepted the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, renouncing all karma kandiya conceptions of life. Now, there could be a big discussion. So what a family man should do? He should perform the Shraddha ceremonies. Should he perform other ritualistic ceremonies that is mentioned in the scriptures? Well, when we are part of a community, sometimes there may be a pressure, or you may be completely considered as considered rejected, or that could be one situation. Another situation is that the practicing devotee himself may feel he is not in the level of Madhavendra Puri. He may say like that. Well, to handle the situation, our acharyas like Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, they have compiled Hari Bhakti Vilas. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, there are standard procedures how to perform the Nitya Naimitika karmas according to Vaishnava way, by pleasing Vishnu, keeping Vishnu in the center, how to perform those activities are mentioned. And for those who are interested, could take up that, and that is very bona fide. That will be within the framework of devotional service. That is a safe path. And for one who is so much absorbed in Krishna's service, that in itself is enough. Chanting the holy names, engaging in the Bhagavata Dharma, that in itself is enough. But for those family people who feel that they want to, if they feel that they would like to do, they could take up this process. Because there is a verse in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna himself is saying that one should not whimsically reject some of the procedures that are given in the scriptures. So, where to balance, how to balance should be done according to Guru Sadhu Shastra. But the general principle, as we see in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Lupta Pindo Daka Kriyaha, when Krishna is speaking about offering Pinda, when Arjuna said that who will offer Pinda and all these things, in those purports we can see very consistent Srila Prabhupada's message, how simply by offering prasadam to the forefathers, that in itself is sufficient. We don't have to engage in big karma kandiya sections of the Vedas. It's being Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that. So we should keep that in mind. Okay. So simple message that if we can stick to the whole process of Krishna consciousness very seriously, that in itself is sufficient. On top of it, if somebody wants to follow the Vedic path, which is recommended, which is not bad, it is good, and when you are part of some community, it's good to set some standards, but do it in a Vaishnava way. Don't get carried away by the karma kandiya sections of the Vedas. Okay, that's the point. Okay. Now let's go to the next section where Parikshit is now going to ask the questions to Shukadeva Goswami. Parikshit Maharaj glorifies Shukadeva Goswami and inquires about creation. Text 5 to 10. So Parikshit Maharaj, even before asking questions, first he glorifies the position of Shukadeva Goswami, and he's posing those questions with respect to creation. Okay. Rajo vacha samichinam vacho brahman sarvajnasya tavanaga tamo vishiryate mahyam hare katyatah katam hare katayatah katam. Okay. Maharaj Parikshit said, "O learned Brahmana, you know everything because you are without material contamination. Therefore, whatever you have spoken to me appears perfectly right. Your speeches are gradually destroying the darkness of my ignorance, for you are narrating the topics of the Lord." So what are the key words? Sarvajnasya, he knows everything, he says. Samichinam, we have seen this word before also. You are perfectly right, you are perfectly correct. Your speeches, your vachaha. And as a result of that speech, which is perfect, what is the result of that? He says that Vishiryate Mahyam Hare Katayatak Kata. So what the result is that because your speech is unadulterated, anaga, without any contamination, very clear, and you know about everything, now gradually I could see that the ignorance are being dissipated from my heart. because of hearing the transcendental topics of Sri Hari. Okay. Injection of transcendental knowledge by a pure devotee results in gradual disappearance of ignorance on the sincere hearer. The practical experience of Maharaj Parikshit is disclosed herein, revealing that transcendental topics of the Lord act like injections when received by the sincere devotee from a person who is perfectly uncontaminated by material tinges. In other words, reception of the messages of the Srimad Bhagavatam from professional men heard by a Karma Kandiya audience never acts miraculously as stated here. This is very interesting, huh? A person who is involved in Karma Kandiya activities, when he speaks, the effect is not there. But when a person who is a sincere follower of the Bhagavata Dharma, or to put it in a simple way, one who is a follower of pure devotional service, when he speaks, it has got a potent effect. Devotional hearing of the messages of the Lord is not like hearing ordinary topics. Therefore, the action will be felt by the sincere hearer by experience of the gradual disappearance of ignorance. So, we will know that, the secret is that if somebody is hearing Krishna Katha, is coming for programs, attending, and after 2 years, 3 years, if that person has not even started chanting in his beat, using his beats, if that person is not engaged in any service, if he's just coming and going, that means that either the speaker is not giving the right message, or the hearer is absolutely not following what is being given. The speaker gives the right message, pure message, and the hearer with sincerity tries to hear, then naturally there will be a transformation in the heart. Transformation in the heart means what? Change of heart means what has happened? Gradually the ignorance is removed. This is the point. Okay. So Prabhupada here quoting the very important verse, Yasya deve parabhaktir yata deve tata gurau tasyaite katita yartaha prakashante mahatmanaha. When a hungry man is given food to eat, he feels satiation of hunger and the pleasure of dining simultaneously. Thus, he does not have to ask whether he has actually been fed or not. The crucial test of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is that one should get positive enlightenment by such an act. Positive enlightenment means what? That's the thing. You gradually give up the enjoying propensity of this material world. Sometimes we can see this morphing video, But morphing video, understand what I'm saying? You can see the transformation. The photo of a person who was before Krishna consciousness and the photo of a person after Krishna consciousness. You can see here, you'll be having, hippie hairs and, big French beard or big beard, all, crazy dresses, having so many rings, big chains. And here, then the transformation is shaven head, nice tilaka, and a wonderful ornament of tulasi mala, and nice dhoti kurta, simple chadar and like that. It's not the external change is only on the external, internally also. Internal change is there. What is the change? What is the change? Previously, for every small thing, you will be showing so much anger for any small thing if that is being when you have interaction with him. And then he had people who had been very lusty, who have been very greedy. They are often they become envious. All these lower tendencies we can see after coming in touch with the pure devotee, taken to the process of Krishna consciousness. The person, all these lower tendencies are transformed. I just remember one incident. I will inform you. There was one devotee who used to, everybody in the company knows that you have to be very careful in dealing with him, because if you're going to do little mess with this person, he's going to be really on your case. He shouts like anything, he gets angry like anything. He will just open his third eye if he does not have. So people will be very, very careful with him. So somehow or other, this person got Srila Prabhupada's book, and he started reading it, started coming in touch with devotees, started asking a lot of questions in the Bhagavatam class and like that, and gradually started taking Krishna consciousness. And after some time, he was initiated, and then he started seriously practicing. And in his office, they were all completely stunned. Is it the same person with whom we are dealing? In 1 year, such a transformation happened in him. And people could not believe, is it the same devotee? I am not mentioning his name, okay? Is it the same person? Because they all became so affectionate to him. Not that he will never chastise them or correct them, but his dealings were so peaceful. So this is the effect of pure devotional service. When somebody takes up the process of chanting Hare Krishna, well, for some people it may take more time. For some people they may transform quickly. It depends on the sincerity of the practitioner. But nevertheless, this transcendental process of Krishna consciousness, it works. Certainly we could see from the kind of lower tendencies we had before and the lower tendencies that we are having now, certainly there is a transformation. Maybe we may have to work more, we may have to get purified more. But Krishna conscious process, it works. This is the proof. Pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam susukam kartam abhyam. We can see with our own eyes the changes that happens. So that's a very nice example Prabhupada gives here. You don't have to ask anyone. You just put the morsel of food in your mouth, and as the food goes inside, immediately the hunger subsides. You get satisfied, you get nourished also. Okay. Now we will see those questions which is now posed by Parikshit Maharaj. Questions 31 through 33. So now these 31, 33, we are putting numbers for these questions. So now 3 questions he will be asking. So 31, 32, 33. We are named it as 31, 32, 33. We will see what are those questions. These questions are the answer to question 30 asked of Suta by Saunaka. What was the question 30? Anybody remembers? What? Come on. What was the question that Saunaka Rishi asked? He asked, so what is it that the Parikshit was questioning Shukadeva Goswami? What is it that they are conversing? I would like to know more about it. On that question, okay, what is it that they are speaking? Now they are coming to this point. Suta Goswami is now explaining what is it that Parikshit Maharaj questioned Sukadeva Goswami. Okay. See, that's what. But question 30 is about further questions of King Parikshit, who makes queries nearly up to the very end of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So now answer to this question will be throughout the Bhagavatam, rest of the Bhagavatam. There are many questions that Parikshit asked. So all those things will be answered also. Okay. Is it clear what we are discussing? Okay. Text 6. Bhuya eva vivitsami bhagavan atma mayaya yatedang srijate vishwang durvibhavyam adishvaraihi. I beg to know from you how the personality of Godhead by his personal energies creates these phenomenal universes as they are, which are inconceivable even to the great demigods. So the creation of the Lord, creation of the universes by the Lord is such an amazing activity. Now, even the demigods are not able to understand sometimes how some things are happening, how the Lord using his inconceivable energy is able to make this creation. They are stunned and surprised. Well, that is very clearly established in the very first verse of the Bhagavatam. What is there? Bhagavatam first verse says about it. Okay, what is the particular point of the verse which speaks about that? Muhyanti yat surayah. Bhagavatam says Muhyanti, even the great Suris are bewildered sometimes. That's what is being pointed out here. Okay. We are often bewildered, right? Kali-yuga, it's even more bewildering. Okay. The question of creation is also one of such inquiries to be made to the right person. The spiritual master, therefore, must be one who is Sarvagnya, as stated herein before in connection with Shukadeva Goswami. Now, we should understand this statement properly. Spiritual master should be Sarvagnya, means you should know what is there in my pocket now. See, whatever, because by knowing Krishna, one knows everything. What Krishna says in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Yomam evam asammudo janati purushottama sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarvabhavena bharata. Krishna says. So, by knowing Krishna, one knows everything. So, the spiritual master knows whatever that is required to engage us in Krishna's service, whatever that is required to surrender. He knows, so that is the essence. So, it doesn't mean that he may have to know all the details of how to go from here to Karambali bus stop, and from Karambali bus stop which bus to take and which will go to Bangalore, what time. He doesn't know all those things. But why you have to go, what do you have to do, what is the exact activity, that he knows clearly. So that we have many times discussed this, but I am still reminding him, because Sarvagnya means when one knows Krishna, he becomes Sarvagnya. That's the whole point. Okay. Thus, all inquiries on God which are unknown to the disciple may be made from the qualified spiritual master. And here the practical example is set by Maharaj Parikshit. Okay. Prabhupada says, the common man also knows that the creation is made by some creator and is not created automatically. Prabhupada is immediately using this opportunity here in this purport, speaking about that creation does not come by chance, as the foolish people propose. Nice analogy Prabhupada is relating to here. We have no experience in the practical world that a thing is created automatically. Foolish people say that creative energy is independent and acts automatically as electrical energy works. But the intelligent man knows that even the electrical energy is generated by an expert engineer in the localized powerhouse. And thus the energy is distributed everywhere under the resident engineer's supervision. The Lord's supervision in connection with creation is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 10. What does it? Chapter 9, text 10 says, Hayadekshena prakriti suyate characharam hetunanena kaunte jagat viprivartati. And it is clearly said that that material energy is a manifestation of one of such energies of the Supreme. Okay. An inexperienced boy may be struck with wonder by seeing the impersonal actions of electronics or many other wonderful things connected by electrical energy. But an experienced man knows that behind the action of a living man who creates such energy. Similarly, the so-called scholars and philosophers of the world may by mental speculation, present so many utopian theories about the impersonal creation of the universe. Utopian theories, you understand? What does it mean, utopian theories? Kind of imaginary theories. There's no, utopia means some imaginary world. They propose about the impersonal creation of the universe, but an intelligent devotee of the Lord, by studying the Bhagavad Gita, can know that behind the creation is the hand of the Supreme Lord. Just as in the generating electrical powerhouse, there is a resident engineer. The research scholar finds out the cause and the effect of everything, but research scholars as great as Brahma, Shiva, Indra and many other demigods are sometimes bewildered by seeing the wonderful creative energy of the Lord. So what to speak of the tiny mundane scholars dealing in petty things? So Brahma, we know from Brahma Vimora Leela, we know how the Lord is dealing with everything. We know from Shiva, Lord Shiva, Mohini Murti pastimes, how he also got bewildered. So all these are examples. As there are differences in the living conditions of different planets of the universe, and as one planet is superior to others, the brains of the living entities in those respective planets are also of different categorical values. From the Bhagavad Gita, one can understand that the long duration of the life of the inhabitants of Brahma's planet is inconceivable to the inhabitants of this planet Earth. So now Prabhupada categorically showing how in Brahma's, for some of the demigods, Brahma's lifespan is very high. And again from other lower species, when we see the lifespan of the demigods, that is very high. And for the ants to see our lifespan, that is very high. So there are different levels of reality that according to the conditioned nature, the jiva can perceive only certain extent. But there are different levels of relative truth. Now, Prabhupada points out. Similarly, the categorical value of the brain of Brahmaji is also inconceivable to any great scientist of this planet. Yet even with such high brain power, Brahmaji considers the brain of the Supreme Lord inconceivable. Among the powerful demigods in charge of the management of the universal affairs, Brahmaji and Shivaji are called Ishvara or Adishvara. Still, Brahmaji has described Lord Krishna as the Supreme Ishvara. Now, after having explained the position of the different demigods, how demigods are subservient to the Lord and they can also get bewildered. Now, Prabhupada is giving emphasis here to the right question Maharaj Parikshit is asking. And he's also explaining why Parikshit asked such question and what are the reasons for that. Prabhupada is explaining this part. Please pay attention. Maharaj Parikshit first heard about the Lord's creation and not the Rasa Leela. Maharaj Parikshit did not ask his spiritual master Shukadeva Goswami to narrate Lord Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavana. He wanted to hear first about the Lord's creation. Shukadeva Goswami did not say that the king should hear about the direct transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The time was very short, and naturally Shukadeva Goswami could have gone directly to the 10th canto to make a shortcut of the whole thing, as generally done by the professional reciters. Now, we can see Parikshit Maharaj was fully qualified to directly discuss on Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, but he didn't. For the benefit of all of us, he went through from the first canto asking about the creation. But neither the king nor the great speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam jumped forward like the organizers of week-long Bhagavatam readings. Both of them proceeded systematically so that future readers and hearers might take lessons from the example of the procedure of reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who are under the control of the external energy of the Lord, or in other words, those who are in the material world, must first of all know how the external energy of the Lord is working under the direction of the Supreme Personality. And afterwards, one may try to enter into the activities of his internal energy. So first try to know how the workings of the external energy happens. Then you get into the internal energy. The mundaners are mostly worshippers of Durga Devi, the external energy of Krishna, but they do not know that Durga Devi is but the shadow energy of the Lord. Behind her astonishing display of material workings, the direction of the Lord. Therefore, the neophyte devotees, instead of jumping at once to the platform of the transcendental pastimes presented by the internal energy of the Lord, may know how great the Supreme Lord is by inquiring about the process of his creative energy. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita also descriptions of the creative energy and the Lord's hand in it are explained. And the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita has warned the neophyte devotees to be seriously on guard against the pitfall of neglecting knowledge about Krishna in regard to how great he is. Only when one knows Lord Krishna's greatness can one firmly put one's unflinching faith in him. This is a nice point, no? Unless you know the glories of the Lord, how will you ever appreciate him? That's what I was explaining the other day. The Japamala, the beads will for a newcomer, it will appear like very big burden. So it will be so difficult to lift it. The bead is what? It's not even, how many grams? Beads. It cannot. But that looks very heavy. But the more you start to give oral reception about the Lord's name, form, glories, instructions, Sambandha Jnana, as it develops, then you love to chant on the beads. You love to engage in Krishna's service. You love to do anything for Krishna. Because after having known what a great personality is the Supreme Lord, how wonderful he is, how merciful he is, what a beautiful form he has got, how the interaction with his devotees, how glorious it is. So once we start to appreciate the Lord, the more we would like to give ourselves to the Lord. So this is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. So when we just hear about how when Krishna says in the Gita, Srimad Urjitam Evava, he speaks that just by the spark of my splendor, I could Ekam Sena Sito Jagat. Krishna says, it's just my fragmental portion of my opulence. I'm just showing you a fragmental portion. What is the big thing here? How is that? How it is fragmental? When more we try to make inquiries and try to understand it, and when we start appreciating how Krishna is performing all the activities, it is mind-blowing for us. Krishna expands himself into 16,108 forms of kings. He's simultaneously in different planets. He can be the smaller than the smallest. He can be the greater than the greatest. He can simultaneously go to two places and then interact with two kinds of devotees. He is holding all the planetary systems on his head, and that is like a mustard seed on the head. So like this, so many descriptions are there. And then Krishna's exemplary potency of his senses, which can do multiple activities. Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti. Sakala indriya vrittimanti. One sense can do the activity of all other senses. What is this? How is it possible? By the way, that is called synesthesia. In the material world, there is a term. I wanted to explain about that. We will see it in some other class. So, in the these are all amazing qualities of the Lord. He could exhibit all these qualities, and more we hear about the Lord, then we start to develop affection to the Lord. So that's why in the early days of the movement we can see every day devotees will read Krishna book. Every day they will drink milk in the night, and while drinking milk, they will every day regularly read Krishna book. Devotees are so absorbed in Krishna and Krishna's daily activities. And devotees knew very well also how different pastimes of Krishna, how Krishna, the names of the characters, what incident happened, because they were so much regularly hearing it and they had full appreciation. And they were very excited also to hear that. Okay. Not that I'm just saying that we should hear only from Krishna book. It's a whole package. We should hear from Bhagavad Gita. Well, the program is like this. Morning we have Srimad Bhagavatam class. Evening we have Bhagavad Gita class. In between whole days packed with a lot of service. Everybody has got different mission in the preaching movement of Srila Prabhupada. And we come together, sing and glorify the Lord. We hear together. Then that's a very powerful atmosphere. Then in that way we start to glorify more about the Lord. And then devotees, in between they meet, they discuss about Krishna conscious topics. So it's a very lively process. Krishna consciousness is a process with full enthusiasm and life. And every step there is great bliss in this practice. And we will be more enthusiastic when we give more oral reception to hear about all these things. Okay. Take 7. Yata gopayati vibhur yata sangyachate punah yam shaktimupashritya purushakti paraf puman Atmanam kridayan kridhan karoti vikaroti cha. Kindly describe how the Supreme Lord, who is all powerful, engages his different energies and different expansions in maintaining and again winding up the phenomenal world in the sporting spirit of a player. What was the previous question? Can you recollect?
This one. Asking about
how the Lord is engaged in his creation. By his inconceivable energies. That was the first question. Second question is, how he is able to engage, who is all powerful, engages different energies and different expansions in maintaining and again winding up the phenomenal world. So different expansions, how he is acting. It's like a child's play for the Lord. So that's why he is saying, in the sporting spirit of a player. How is he able to do? Okay. So Prabhupada points out, Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kaman, he is single person, he is conscious of everyone. So then here, since the question is asked about how he is expanding himself, Prabhupada is pointing out in the purport. The one Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests himself in many Bahusyam, and thus all diversities are in him, and he is in all diversities. Although he is nevertheless different from all of them. That is the inconceivable mystic power of the Lord. And as such, everything is simultaneously one with and different from him by his inconceivable potencies. So this is an amazing aspect about the Lord. This again, when we try to know about how the Lord is so wonderful, the invocation prayer of the Ishwar Upanishad also clarifies that. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Purnamadam. The Lord is complete in himself. Purnamadam Purnamidam, and whatever that is emanating from him, that is also complete. Purnat Purnamudachyate, whatever that is coming out from him, it is complete. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Purnasya Purnamadaya, even whatever that whatever that is coming out from that Supreme, which is complete, and that which has come out is also perfectly complete, but still the complete whole remains complete. So this is the transcendental math. 1 minus 1 is 0. No, it is 1. Because that is how the transcendental mathematics works. Because that is the Lord's amazing potency. Whatever complete unit that is coming out from him, he is not disturbed. He is as it is. Again, when we just, I can't even perceive this. How is it possible? We don't have any such experience in the mundane world about like that. Yeah, the Lord is not beyond the mundane things. We can't just do mundane calculations to understand the Lord. So we have to hear what the Vedas say about the Lord's inconceivable potencies, which could be understood only when the Lord reveals by His mercy about His wonderful act. But still we can get the mercy if we, with faith, give oral reception to the conclusions given by the pure devotees through the scriptural statements. Okay. Nunang bhagavato brahman harer adbhuta karmanah durvibhavyam iva bhati kavabhischapi cheshtitam. O learned Brahmana, the transcendental activities of the Lord are all wonderful and they appear inconceivable because even great endeavors by many learned scholars have still proved insufficient for understanding them. Now, although this is not in a question form, we classify this also as a question. We will see how it is like that. Okay. We will just reframe this question that is being asked. We will reframe it. We will come to know when we just read. I will also, before reading the purport of this, for a specific reason, I am going to read the shloka and translation of text 10. Then you will understand why I am doing it. Okay. Text 10. Kindly clear up all these doubtful inquiries. Now, we have come to text 10. Now, what we read just now is the text number 8 or 7? 8, okay, whatever. So, now, he is saying here, kindly clear up all these doubtful inquiries. So, he says inquiries means questions. All these questions that I have asked so far, please clear up. Because you are not only vastly learned in the Vedic literatures and self-satisfied in transcendence, but are also a great devotee of the Lord, and are therefore as good as the personality of Godhead. Now, we will go back to the question. Now again I will read this Southern translation. O learned Brahmana, the transcendental activities of the Lord are all wonderful and they appear inconceivable because even great endeavors by many learned scholars have still proved insufficient for understanding them. Now, let me read a small note I have put here. In verse 10, Maharaj Parikshit refers to this and the earlier two verses as Vichikitsatam etan me. Vichikitsatam means doubtful inquiries. Now in the translation to verse 9, let's read. The verse 9 of the word whether is used, which is implied by the Sanskrit tu, but, and va, either. The Sanskrit ekaha bhurishaha and janmabihi refer to the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, his simultaneous expansions and his appearances one after another in the material world. By putting emphasis on whether, the translation could be rephrased this way. The Lord is one, but whether he acts alone with the modes of material nature or he expands in many forms for the same purpose, or he appears in the material world in consecutive incarnations to direct the modes of nature. The question is a little bit reframed. Actually, that's what exactly Prabhupada also says. O learned Brahmana, the transcendental activities of the Lord are all wonderful and they appear inconceivable because even great endeavors by many learned scholars have still proved insufficient for understanding them. Okay. Verse 9, I'm sorry, let's go to the verse 9. Okay, before we go into the verse 9, let me just finish in this purport to the verse 8, there is an interesting point Srila Prabhupada is touching. I would like to share that. The Lord is called Anadi, or having no creator, and Adi, or the origin of all. We think in our own imperfect way that the Lord is also created, but the Vedanta informs us that he is not created. Rather, everything else is created by him. Therefore, for the common man, these are all very wonderful matters for consideration. Even for great scholars, they are inconceivable, and thus such scholars present theories contradictory to one another. Even for the insignificant part of his creation, this particular universe, they have no complete information as to how far this limited space extends, or how many stars and planets there are, or the different conditions of those innumerable planets. Modern scientists have insufficient knowledge of all this. Some of them assert that there are 100 million planets scattered all over space. In a news release from Moscow dated February 21, 1960, the following piece of knowledge was relayed. So again, Prabhupada is dealing with the creation. He is now quoting about the understanding of some of the scientists. Russia's well-known professor of astronomy Boris Veliaminov said, there must be an infinite number of planets in the universe inhabited by beings endowed with reason. Quite surprising. Somebody is coming up with this kind of information. It could be that life similar to that on Earth flourishes on such planets. Doctor of chemistry Nikolai Zirov, covering the problem of atmosphere on other planets, pointed out that the organism of a Martian Martian, you understand? Someone who is in Mars, okay? For instance, could very well adapt itself to normal existence with a low body temperature, you know. Now, you see, people, this is a problem, you know, until people never had a clue that there could be living organisms within the sea, within the ocean. Later they figured out that, there are living organisms within the ocean. And similarly, that's why they cannot even perceive that, you know, people cannot live in other planets, they are thinking. People can live in other planets. They can adapt to the other situations of the other planets. That's what is being observed. That's what is the information of these scientists. But the Shastras clearly say, Sarvagataha. Correct? Could very well adapt itself to normal existence with a low body temperature. He said that he felt that the gaseous composition of the Martian atmosphere was quite suitable to sustain the life of beings which have become adapted to it. Now Prabhupada is quoting from Brahma Samhita. He says, each and every one of the innumerable planets within the universe is endowed with a particular type of atmosphere, and how advanced the living beings on each planet are in science and psychology depends on the atmosphere. Vibhuti means specific parts, and Bhinna means variegated. Scientists who are attempting to explore outer space and are trying to reach other planets by mechanical arrangements must know for certain that organisms adapted to the atmosphere of Earth cannot exist in the atmospheres of other planets. So, basically Prabhupada is trying to substantiate that there are living entities in other planets, and the creation is not by chance. The creation happened by an intelligent designer. So that's the whole discussion Prabhupada took it to. Maharaj Parikshit's statement regarding the workings of the creative energy of the Lord discloses that he knew everything of the process of creation. Why then did he ask Shukadeva Goswami for such information? Maharaj Parikshit, being a great emperor, a descendant of the Pandavas and a great devotee of Lord Krishna, was quite able to know considerably about the creation of the world. But that much knowledge was not sufficient. He said therefore that even greatly learned scholars fail to know about that, even after great effort. The Lord is unlimited and his activities are also unfathomed. With a limited source of knowledge and with imperfect senses, any living being up to the standard of Brahmaji, the highest perfect living being within the universe, can never imagine knowing about the unlimited. We can know something of the unlimited when it is explained by the unlimited, as has been done by the Lord himself in the unique statements of the Bhagavad Gita. So that's the point. How can we know about God? We can know about God when God himself explains about it. So that's what is Bhagavad Gita. And it can also be known to some extent from realized souls like Shukadeva Goswami, who learned it from Vyasadeva, a disciple of Narada. And thus the perfect knowledge can descend by the chain of disciplic succession only, and not by any form of experimental knowledge, old or modern. The Srila Prabhupada many times used to be very confident in what he is speaking. Very much we can take about the moon landing issue. Srila Prabhupada was so confident. No, they never went to the moon. How he was so damn confident? Because he had full faith in the Vedas. The conclusions of the Vedas gives the distance of the different planets, positions of the different planets, how to go to other planets. You need to have certain qualifications. It's not just by some mechanical arrangements you can enter any planet. Even for us to go from here to the United States of America, we need to have a valid passport, we need to have a valid visa, right? Similarly, there are requirements to enter the other planets. And it is very clear. So you need sufficient punya to enter the higher planets. So Prabhupada was very, very confident. And here you can see. So similarly, those who are practitioners of the Vedic life, or those who are practicing Krishna consciousness, we are very confident with the message of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, which is coming in parampara. The message is true. Message never is, for 20 years one message, and after 25 years the message changes. No, it's the same pure message coming in parampara. We can be fully assured the Bhagavatam or the process that is given in the Bhagavatam will not change. So we can be fully confident of that, because this message is coming in the parampara, which is without any change, unadulterated, the message we are receiving. Okay, now text 9. Sorry, I just gave the connection before in a wrong way. Now this is the connection. Yata gunamstu prakriter yugapat kramasho piva bhivarti bhurishasteka kurvan karmani janmabhihi. This is the 33rd question, okay? The Supreme Person of Godhead is one, whether he alone acts with his modes of material nature, or simultaneously expands in many forms, or expands consecutively to direct the modes of nature. You got it, no? Now what we are discussing about? This is what we read. So the question is reframed like this. The Lord is one, but whether he acts alone with the modes of material nature, or he expands in many forms for the same purpose, or he appears in the material world in consecutive incarnations to direct the modes of nature. So this is the 33rd question, and we will see that we will see the answers that will be discussed. Okay, text 10. I'm going to move into text 10. Kindly clear up all these doubtful inquiries, because you are not only vastly learned in the Vedic literatures and self-realized in transcendence, but are also a great devotee of the Lord and are therefore as good as the personality of Godhead. Prabhupada established about Krishna's position and how the knowledge, how his expansions, he speaks about that. And now I'm coming to the second part of the purport where Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that by the mercy of the Lord, the devotee can know more than the Lord himself. A powerful devotee of the Lord is, by the grace of the Lord, more than the Lord himself. Maharaj Parikshit admitted in the previous verse that the Lord is inconceivable even for the greatest learned scholars. Why then should he again request Shukadeva Goswami to clarify his insufficient knowledge about the Lord? No, it appears contradictory, right? Just he said that, my dear Lord, you are inconceivable, even great scholars cannot understand you. Now he says that, Shukadeva Goswami, you are aware of everything. What is this? Question is being raised. The reason is clear. Not only was Shukadeva Goswami vastly learned in the Vedic literatures, but he was also a great self-realized soul and a powerful devotee of the Lord. A powerful devotee of the Lord is, by the grace of the Lord, more than the Lord himself. The personality of Godhead, Sri Ramachandra, attempted to bridge the Indian Ocean to reach the island of Lanka. But Sri Hanumanji, the unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead, could cross the ocean simply by jumping over it. The Lord is so merciful upon his pure devotee that he presents his beloved devotee as more powerful than himself. The Lord expressed himself to be unable to save Durvasa Muni, although the Muni was so powerful that he could reach the Lord directly under material conditions. But Durvasa Muni was saved by Maharaj Ambarish, a devotee of the Lord. Therefore, not only is a devotee of the Lord more powerful than the Lord, but also worship of the devotee is considered more effective than direct worship of the Lord. If you remember, we also, as in the previous class, had one more discussion about Shaunaka Rishi. So what was that? Can you recollect?
Shaunaka Rishi sometimes disciple may ask.
Because we could see the questions that was posed by Shaunaka Rishi, or the realizations that Shaunaka Rishi is sharing with everyone was amazing, mind-blowing. Such realizations about the holy name, such realizations about the nature of this material world, such realizations about the attachment to the material world. So one may wonder, he's a student of Suta Goswami. It appears like he knows more than Suta Goswami. So that's the point. The Lord will empower his devotee with amazing realizations. And also we understood that to enhance the parampara, the Lord does that. And also the Lord wants to glorify his devotee. That is also another reason. That's why such accomplishments are done by his great devotee. That's what here is being mentioned. The conclusion is therefore that a serious devotee must first approach a spiritual master who not only is well versed in the Vedic literatures, but is also a great devotee with factual realization of the Lord and his different energies. That's a nice point, no? Prabhupada says that a serious devotee must first approach a spiritual master who not only is well versed in the Vedic literatures, but is also a great devotee with factual realization of the Lord and his different energies. That means what? He has heard the scriptures and he has practiced it in his life. So that is why he is called as Acharya. Acharya means what? He who follows the instructions that is given in the scriptures. All the acharyas he follows. And as a result of following it, what will be the consequence? You will be walking with realizations. You are full of realizations. That is why whatever that we hear, we should hear it, imbibe it, and then practice it. We should assimilate it, contemplate it, and practice it. When we do that, what will be the result? Then we will have realizations. This is the point. Otherwise, we will be like a parrot. Just so many shlokas we will be chanting. So many quotes we will be able to give, but when the moment comes, we will forget what should be done, because there is no realization. Well, to get the realization, we need the mercy of the Lord. So we should constantly pray to the Lord, constantly help the Lord to give us guidance, so that we are always conscious of Him and His devotees. Okay. Without the help of such a devotee, spiritual master, one cannot make progress in the transcendental science of the Lord. And a bona fide spiritual master like Shukadeva Goswami does not speak about the Lord only in the matter of his internal potencies, but also explains how he associates with his external potencies. This is amazing, huh? Such a vast knowledge Shukadeva Goswami had. Not only he spoke on the 10th Canto Rasa Leela, he spoke the entire creation, he spoke the entire cosmology, everything he spoke. He knew everything. How he knew? By the mercy of the Lord, he could transmit this knowledge. And we could see in the upcoming prayers how he was so much, and he got the mercy. What kind of a caliber devotee he is, and how he is offering prayers to the Lord. So the Lord naturally will be moved by the prayers of such pure devotees. The Lord will reciprocate with such devotees. Okay, I would specifically like to read the Vishnu Chakravarti's commentary on this verse. This is a little interesting. He says, Vichiksitam means doubt. If this is hard for the wise to understand, Prabhupada already covered this. Prabhupada already spoke on this, but again he puts it in a very poetic way. If this is hard for the wise to understand, how do you know that I know? Shukadeva Goswami is asking. Just as Krishna, Bhagavan knows, you, his devotee, also know. Parikshit is replying. You are expert in discerning the Vedas, Brahmani, and in realizing Krishna, Parasmin. Other writers of scripture do not all realize Krishna. They do not know. The Lord says, Kim vidhate kim achaste kim anudhya vikalpayet ityasya hridayam loke nanyo mad veda kaschana. So what does the Lord says? Only me and my devotee knows about the intricacies of the conclusion of the Vedas. What do the Vedas instruct as action? What is the final meaning of the Vedas? What alternatives do the Vedas raise? No one except me or my dear devotee knows the intended meaning of the Vedas. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 21, Text 42. The Vaishnavas should hear the pastimes of Krishna and the avatars involving the Chit Shakti, but should similarly hear the pastimes of the Purusha avatars, such as creating the universe, involving Maya Shakti. Those pastimes should not be leered at. The hearer Parikshit and the speaker Shukadeva intended that those pastimes should be known. So this whole point is that. So one has to hear about not only the internal pastimes of the Lord, should also hear about the Purusha avatars and like creating the universe and how the Lord is in full control of the entire universe and his dealings with the material energy. That also should be known. Then one will have proper understanding, proper appreciation will be there. That's the whole point. Otherwise we will take all the Krishna Leelas to be a very cheap thing. Okay, now I'm just going to just a little bit brief you about the prayers, and we will deal with the prayers in the next class. Now Shukadeva Goswami, before starting to answer, the rest of the chapter is all about this. Before starting to answer Parikshit, he invokes the mercy of the Lord by offering obeisances to the Lord. First of all, he glorifies the Lord and offers obeisances to the Lord in every prayer. Okay? There are about 7 prayers which are like this. 7 or 8 prayers, 11 to 18. And from 19 to 25, he is actually again glorifying the Lord. In a very humble way, he is asking, may the Lord be pleased with my endeavor in trying to explain this. So, we divided it like this. One is glorifying the Lord and offering first of all respects, obeisances. And then he is again glorifying the Lord in a very humble attempt. He is asking, my dear Lord, please be pleased with me. See, in that way the prayers are, we have classified these prayers, and we will get into these prayers in the upcoming class. With that we will wind up with the 4th chapter. Now if you have any questions, comments, realizations, welcome. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.